What is going on, you guys? We are here for another episode of the Five Hole with the Variety Sports Network. With me today is Aaron, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about between one of the big trades that happened this week. A lot of stuff going on in the rumor mill with different players. For example, Vander Kane has been big talks with Dallas, and I think it was Colorado. I think
Yeah, two good
that I
good
saw.
two
We're
good
going to
teams.
go over standings, and then also with it being, yeah, and then kind of going over our top five teams as of this point in the league, and then also going to be going over the different draft prospects for this upcoming draft for 2026. But first, Aaron, let's get into the big trade that happened over this past week, which I think we briefly we talked about it quite a bit on our last show, and literally this was like the night that we talked about it, and then literally the next morning I think it happened.
Yeah, it did.
Wasn't it? Or that was so what we got here, we are going to be talking about Keifer Sherwood getting traded to the San Jose Sharks. Vancouver gave up Keifer Sherwood, and in response, they got 2 second-round picks, one for 2026 and one for 2027. And they also got a defenseman in Cole Clayton. What did you think of the return or the Canucks in response to San Jose getting Sherwood, Aaron?
Well, first off, you didn't give yourself enough credit because you're the one that said Kiefer Sherwood to the Sharks. I said Barclay Goodrow needs to go. So, I love your humbleness. Well, I actually thought it was a pretty good trade for the Sharks, even though we were talking about it last week. I feel like it's going to help Macklin Celebrini, going to help out that second line. Like Tyler Toffoli, I feel like took a little bit of a back seat this year. Like he's playing good, but I feel like the addition of Sherwood, I think it's going to help Tyler Toffoli out a lot. And it just shows that Chris Greer is ready to make a playoff push. I mean, we talked about it in the standings, like they're pretty close. I think they are the wild card one still. I haven't checked the standings in like 2 days, but it should be still wild card one. So the fact that they're trying to go for it, go to the playoffs, like revamp, they're retooling, just the matter of like 2 years. I think it's great for Sharks fans and just the Sharks in general. But yeah, Sherwood brings a lot to this table. He's a good physical guy. He can shoot the puck well. And the fact that he's out of Vancouver is going to help him out even more.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was already contributing quite a bit this season. I think he was up to 19 goals.
Yep.
Certain number of assists. I don't know him right off the top of my head, but he was off to a really good start, I felt like, this year. And then just to get put into a team like San Jose, who's got guys, like you said, Tyler Toffoli, Will Smith, Macklin Celebrini. I mean, I can go on with a list of players that you could have around you to amp up his level of play that much more. And I feel like, well, we've talked about it briefly, but yeah, they're in the second wild card spots at the moment, 3 points behind Utah. They're at 55, Utah's at 58, but they got the same points as Seattle, LA, and those are the only two that have 55 points currently in the standings for that second wild card position. But I feel like having the addition of Kiefer Sherwood would almost put you at a lock for a playoff position. I would feel like in this case. What would you say?
No doubt. The only thing that I just question a little bit is the goaltending, just because of Askarov and it's not for Jamelka, but it's like similar.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, our Ninja Miguel. Anyways,
Jovic.
Yeah, there we go. So many interesting goalie names, but
right.
But yeah, I think because like like Macklin Celebrini had like 74 points. I think the next person was Will Smith with like 40. So I mean, I think it's good having Kiefer Sherwood in here. And
For sure.
I didn't think that San Jose was going to pull this trigger. In all honesty, I thought the Canucks were going to ask just for a little bit more, just because Kiefer Sherwood's contract is pretty easy. I think it's like 1.5 mil, and he's an unrestricted free agent. So it was kind of like that's a pretty good deal for any team, but like
Oh,
San
for
Jose.
sure. Plus, I mean, he's going to be up for a negotiation for a new contract this coming off season, and from talks that I saw on different articles, I think he was only looking at maybe wanting between a 5 or 6 AAV for however long. I can't remember exactly the length on it, but I mean, having a contract for a guy like that at 5 or 6 AAV, I mean, granted, it could be a lot higher than that. I haven't really looked to see where. I don't know what numbers would be like for a contract for him once it gets to kind of that point. But I mean, for a team that's kind of in a retool and getting a guy that's going to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year, getting a price for what, 5-6 million AAV for a guy that is doing really well in the NHL right now, and Kiefer Sherwood, I feel like that would be almost a steal for this team.
Absolutely. And he's 30 years old, so it makes it even better.
So, yeah, you get him for what? Maybe look to a contract for maybe 4, 5, 6-ish years at 5 or 6 apiece. I think that would be more than reasonable contract.
Yeah, exactly. Now, he is a right wing, so do you bump Tyler Toffoli to the third line, or do you keep Kiefer Sherwood at the third line? I think that's the biggest question.
See, that would be a hard question for me, or hard question, I think, to answer right away. I think you would have to kind of feel out that situation. But let me pull that up because I feel like because Tyler Toffoli, he's even kind of getting up there a little bit in age too, isn't he? He's like 30s as well.
Yeah, I think he's like 33. And I only say it just because with the Wenberg signing, that he's there for 3 more years with the Sharks, like that's your 2C. And I think Michael Misa, if I'm correct, he should be back with the Sharks instead of down in the AHL. So that would be your 3C. And I feel like the Sherwood, Misa, Eklund line, I think would be really nice. But I feel like if you want to put Kiefer Sherwood at the two right wing, I feel like even with Toffoli as the 3, I think it's still pretty good. But it's a good problem to have.
That's going to be hard because I mean the right side. I mean you have Smith on the first line, Toffoli on second line, Gaudette on the third line, and then Reeves on the fourth line. To me, looking at this lineup, or at least on the right side of this lineup, when Sherwood almost comes back from his injury that he's currently on, I would almost think with having a presence like Sherwood who hits a ton, I think he's up to like 200 something hits already this season, I would almost think you waive Reeves. Just because you have a guy like Sherwood coming into the team and having 2 guys like that kind of do the same, that hit a lot and would not willing to get in the ring with somebody if somebody is getting into it with your teammates. Would you hold on to Reeves and then maybe shuffle around guys on that right side, or would you go a different route with that?
I mean, Ryan Reeves isn't what he used to be, and we kind of saw that when he was in Toronto when he signed that 3-year deal. I don't even think he finished like his second year there, and they just like let him go. So I don't think he's a lot in the tank offensively. Like he is a goon, which is good to have like in the playoffs or in this basically second half of the NHL season. But yeah, that's kind of like a tough tough pill to swallow if you let him go, just because I feel like when you do get to the playoffs, you need that like goonish like behavior to kind of rattle some teams. I feel like that's a good guy to have.
Yeah. In that case, because I imagine almost somebody on this right side almost gets let go, and or gets scratched a shit ton, because there's no way you're going to be able to hold on to. I feel like either Gaudette or Reeves would be on the outside looking in at that point whenever you get Sherwood back healthy, because they're both looking at Reeves is at the 1.35 million, Gaudette's at 2 million. You're gonna have Sherwood coming back at what? All right, 1.5. So at some point or another, yeah, it's going to be something that you're going to have to look at, either probably one of those two, and then you're probably going to have to look at if you're going to shuffle Toffoli down, or you're going to have Sherwood on that third line. I think that I wouldn't want to be the GM in this situation or the coach, because I feel I would almost think like you would put Sherwood, I think, on that second line, and then you would fumble down from there. I think Toffoli would probably get pushed down to third line, and then either Gaudette or Reeves for that third, or for the fourth.
Well, I just looked it up. Ryan Reeves is a -11 when he's on the ice, so that might be a good cut. Then I actually thought he would be a little bit better, but no, I'd probably just cut him at that point.
Yeah, at that point, yeah, I would probably say Reeves. I love you for the time that you were here in St. Louis, but after Sherwood gets healthy, I could almost see him getting cut from this lineup, unfortunately. But I don't know. What any last bits before we kind of move on to the rumor mill of what is going on within the NHL currently?
Pretty much just I hope the Sharks make the playoffs. They're a pretty fun team to watch.
For sure. But all right, moving on to our next topic, which is a lot of the rumor mill which is going on, which I mean, a lot of it from what I have seen, and I wasn't sure why we made this a big topic, but I think it was from me that I had the topics for us for this week. But one of the big ones that I have been seeing, and I think Saf has also been seeing, was Evander Kane was a big rumor mill topic to being traded away from the Canucks, and a couple of the teams that have been looking into him was the Colorado Avalanche or the Dallas Stars. What would your take be if Evander Kane? I know he's getting a little bit on the older side as well. He hasn't really attributed much to the Canucks since he's been in Vancouver. But what do you think that he would be a big contributing factor for either Colorado or Dallas if he were to be traded? And which one do you think they would be traded to?
I think Colorado should just stay where it is. I know that Artemi Panarin has been linked to them, but then again, he's been linked to like 6 other teams. So I would actually probably go with Dallas, just because when Evander Kane is on a good team, he plays really good. Like, just because he's on Vancouver this year, and I really don't trust Stan Bowman with the Oilers, so like he likes to sign people that are not good, and he likes to trade people that are like semi good. So the fact that he's not doing well in Vancouver, I'm gonna erase that, because wherever he's been efficient with the puck. He scores really well, and he is also another goon. Like, he is not afraid to hit check anyone or cross check them in the boards. Like, so I think Dallas needs that, just because they've been either in the conference finals, I think the last like 2 years in a row, and cut up short, or they always get to the semis in the second round. So I think with Dallas, I think Evander Kane fits perfectly. Colorado, you just don't rock the boat. They're doing what they need to do. I just watched them today against Toronto. They just beat the crap out of them. So I would just keep
Oh yeah,
Colorado's game.
I would almost second it that I think the Colorados. I think they need to just keep the slate where it's at because I mean you're running through this league right now, and I mean this whole season they've ran through the league, and I mean I think what it's like they've only had 5 losses regulation time, and then I think maybe 3 or 4 overtime losses. But other than that, they've been I'd say they've been steamrolling. They had a little bit of an off period. I believe it was last week whenever they had like a 5-3-2 record. But I almost think that I would leave that roster the way it is. I would almost guess that if anybody were to go for Evander Kane, it would be Dallas. But I mean, the second the point that where you were at with Evander Kane, even when he was with Edmonton, I think the last couple years he's been doing phenomenal until he left. I can't remember what the reason was for that. Was he traded or he just went to free agency and then Vancouver picked him back up? I can't remember if it was a trade.
No, they traded him. They traded him,
Okay.
I think, for like just like a draft pick.
I couldn't remember what the reason or why he was sent to Vancouver. But I couldn't remember if it was a trade or not. But I felt like he did really well in Edmonton, and then a lot of the other previous teams that he's been with before. So I mean, going to either one of these teams, I feel like he would do decently. But I feel like it would be a better option almost to see him go to Dallas rather than Colorado. Just the mere fact of how well Colorado's playing.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's also a left wing. So you have Matthew Shane, Jason Robertson. I mean, you could put him at on the third line or even on the fourth line, and he's going to produce for you. So, but like I said, like just because you see Vancouver with 9 goals, 14 assists, I think he's like a -17 on time of ice. Like it's Vancouver, so I'm not expecting much out of them this year. But if he goes to a team like that and he just does his job, hits people, and the goal scoring will come just because of how elusive this Dallas Stars offense is.
Oh, for sure. I mean, hell, I know you said Robertson, Steele, Ben, and back on their left side. I would almost feel like and I mean, I know this is probably due to a lot of the injuries and everything that Dallas has been having, but I mean, having a guy like Evander Kane on that third line, I feel like would be a good spot for him.
Yeah, and you need a strong third line, fourth line in the playoffs. We've seen it for years. So that fact that you would put him on there, I mean, that'd be perfect.
Oh, for sure. One of the other rumor mill ones that you're probably all too familiar with, where I was wanting to touch on, was Artemi Panarin, which, I mean, he's been linked to Colorado. He's been linked to damn near almost every freaking team in the league. I feel like between Colorado, Carolina, LA, I think was a few of the ones that I saw. But I mean, you're closer to New York than what I am, but what were your thoughts on where Artemi would probably be heading to?
It doesn't really matter to me because he has a no movement clause. So it's really just Chris Drury trying to convince him to to go where he wants him to. So kind of like do like a nice persuasion. So Panarin's going to be a free agent. We talked about this last week, and I think I said it. Yeah. The free agency class is weak next year because everyone started to re-sign this year, so it's not as salivating as it would be. Lucrative. Yeah, exactly. So I think with Panarin, if wherever he gets traded, I think he's going to want to sign an extension there. So that's the only reason why I think any trades haven't happened yet. If it were up to me, and I would try to persuade him, I would try to say like a Utah. Like try to get something in there because why not? Like they have young guys, they probably have draft picks. The new owner wants to win, and go to the playoffs. They're I believe they were. You said they were tied with 55 points, right? In the playoff race, or they're the wild card
Yeah.
one.
No, Utah has 58,
So there you
where
go.
San Jose, and two other teams have 55.
Yeah, and I keep seeing Washington in the mix too. It's like, yeah, I get it. Like you could play with Alexander Ovechkin, but they're just sliding, and like I don't see anybody that Krister would want from that team that he would try to persuade Artemi Panarin. Besides saying, hey, you could play with a fellow Russian, now Alexander Ovechkin, on his last leg before he retires next year, which is all speculation. I'm not an NHL expert, but yeah, I don't really think it matters to me because
Plus that's an aging core too.
Yeah.
Plus, Washington too has an aging core, which if he's looking to go to a contender team for the next couple years, I would feel like going to Washington, you'll probably be relevant for maybe probably this season, maybe next, if you're lucky. And then that team's going to be more in like the retool, rebuild kind of scenario as well. So I don't know if he would really. I don't know if you could really. I think Chris Drury would have a hard time probably convincing Artemi to go to Washington, in my honest opinion.
Yeah, and he's gonna fumble the bag anyways. Not Artemi Panarin, but Chris Drury. Like he's made some quite interesting trades, and the only good ones that he's done was bringing Vladimir Tarasenko and Patrick Kane, and we lost in the first round of the Devils.
And then just literally lose them the next season.
Exactly. Like they didn't want to stay. They didn't want to stay there. So it's like I do really think though Utah would be a great fit for him. I don't know why I'm on this like Utah train because I'm saying the same thing I said in the beginning of the season. Like Pete DeBoer should be there as a head coach. I don't know that maybe it's just because all the young guys that are there and the way they're playing. I feel like that'd be a good spot for Panarin.
Yeah, I don't know how much I would feel about it with being in the Central. That would probably hurt a little bit to see Artemi go into Utah team. I've seen him linked to that, and I don't know if it was Minnesota or it was a different team, but there were a couple of Central teams I thought I saw in the mix, and then I thought I saw LA as well. But I think it's going to be.
That's so weird. Like, wouldn't they kind of have an aging core too? And like they made some re-signings for I think it was Kuzmenko and all that. And it's just like, one, how much cap space would you have for Artemi Panarin? Because this is his last paycheck, and he's gonna want like a 5-6 year deal. And it's just like, is your team built for Artemi Panarin? And he shrinks in the playoffs. You wouldn't expect it. Like he'll bring in like 2 or 3 goals, but other than that, like if you trap him the way like Florida did the last 2022, how the Devils did it, like he's gonna start folding and not produce in the playoffs.
Yeah. Now this is an interesting question, and I don't know if you would feel it or not, but with where Florida is currently at in the standings, do you think they go after that move for Panarin and try to bring him to the team and try to go for that 3-peat?
They might have to, in all honesty, just because, like, yeah, you're bringing Matt Tkachuk came back last week. This team's just hurting in the sense of rest. They've played so much hockey the last 3 years because people forget they went to the Cup Finals again and lost to Vegas. Like they got smooth.
Yeah, so this would be their 4th year.
Yep.
In the playoffs. Well, going far in the playoffs.
Like deep playoffs at that. So, I mean, would it be a good story? Absolutely, because Panarin, Bobrovsky, I believe Bob's probably going to retire soon. I think he has like a year or two left on his contract, but like you could go back to the Columbus days with that. Panarin would almost be like a Vladimir Tarasenko when he got traded from Ottawa to the Florida Panthers and won the Cup. Like he just has to be there, and he probably won't have so much pressure on. He can just do what he needs to do in the playoffs on the third line. Mm-hmm. So I can see that. It's just, what is Florida going to give me? Well, the Rangers, that makes it a fair deal is the question.
That's fair. I mean, I don't know what their draft capital looks like for the next upcoming years, but I would imagine that would be something that New York would probably be looking for is draft assets or prospects, because I mean, if they're going through a retool, I don't see them really wanting to get like a like some middle ground player or a high end player from Florida for in return for Timmy Panarin.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just looking right now so they currently don't have a first round pick this year or next year.
Mm-hmm.
And then this year they have their second round pick in the Capitals, no third round pick, and then Chicago's fourth, and then so on and so on. So
Jesus.
The only one they're gonna have a first rounder is 2028. So that
would be a little rough. They might have to throw in some players in order to make that happen, since they don't have very many draft picks coming up over the next few years.
Yeah, and their current cap space is 1.7 mil. So they're gonna have to do something with certain players. Well, they'll probably trade them to the Rangers.
Yeah, and especially you only have maybe, because the second was whenever the Olympic freeze was going to be taking.
Yeah, it's like the fourth
so, I
or
mean,
something.
You got maybe 5, 7. You have a week, more or less, of when that whole freeze takes place. So between now and next Sunday, whatever trades are going to happen before the Olympic freeze it's got to happen soon. Because I imagine New York is probably wanting to get them pushed out probably before that freeze occurs for the Olympics, wouldn't you say?
It would help. It would definitely help, because they'll have almost a month where whoever they trade for, they can all reconnect on the ice and try to make a camaraderie. But I think what Chris Drury is going to do, he's just going to sit on his hands. The Olympic freeze is going to go through. Nothing's going to happen, and he's just going to do trades that make absolutely no sense. And the Rangers are just going to, the fans, I guess, are going to keep doing boo birds at Chris Drury. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, because I mean, after the Olympic freeze, you'll have from I think it's the 22nd of February till the 5th or 6th of March. Yeah. So you're looking at another week to week and a half, 2 weeks after the Olympics, more or less, to make whatever trades you're going to be looking to make. But I feel like that's going to be a kind of a short time frame in order to do things that some of these teams are probably going to be wanting to make.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think anyone's really looking for Ranger players. I have a list of people that the Rangers should trade away, and I don't think it's going to happen. I think whoever's on this roster is going to be here, and whoever they trade away, it's not going to be that great.
Yeah. Yep, but I guess time will tell. Kind of going on to our next topic we have for us today is the kind of the standings update. So we'll kind of run through the standings for the East first, and then we'll kind of run through everything for the West. But for the East, currently you have at the top of the Atlantic, you have Red Wings at 69 points, Tampa Bay at 68 points, Buffalo at 63 points. And the what's that?
Insane.
Right.
Never would have thought Buffalo.
In the Metro, we have Carolina at 69 points, Pittsburgh at 61 points, and the New York Islanders at 59 points. I guess, you probably just commented on your biggest surprise. What is your biggest surprise, I guess, in the East for those top 3 playoff spots?
Looking at it right now, I would say I would say the Boston Bruins, even though they're not in the top 3, but they're like 1 point away from top 3 in the Atlantic. They didn't smoke Montreal, but they basically like took over that game and won. When I count the most, but like Buffalo though is the last 10 is 7-2-1. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
crazy.
it looks like they're maintaining the 3rd spot. Like, yeah, they have Montreal and Boston behind them, but like I wouldn't expect that at all. And I think Pittsburgh is going to change. I don't think Pittsburgh is going to be riding this number 2 in the Metro for long. I think either Philly and Islanders are going to jump up over them. I just don't think Sidney Crosby can carry this team much longer in the Metro.
Yeah. I mean, I've honestly, that was probably going to be one of my surprises of like seeing Pittsburgh in that number 2 spot. I figured they were going to be a team that's on the outside looking in type of team this year, especially with how they kind of ended out last season. But I mean, you have a guy like Justin Barzeau who's been doing very well. I mean, yes, he had a stint where he was injured for a decent amount of time, but I feel like with him being on that second line with Evgeny Malkin for a good amount of time, because is he still injured or is he off of IR? Because I thought I saw that he was on IR for a decent amount of time, but regardless, playing with a guy like Evgeny Malkin, I felt like Justin Barzeau was playing exceptionally well because he's one of those guys on that team that is a big hitter, and I feel like he's been playing very well, but that was kind of a surprise to me to see them still in that see them in a second spot for the Metropolitan.
Yeah, and the fact that Stuart Skinner has been playing pretty well for them is actually kind of funny. Like we all knew Tristan Jarry was like a bad goalie, but I didn't think that Stuart Skinner was gonna be 5-1 in his last like 6 games. Like that's insane. And as far as getting Malkin, he is back, but he doesn't want to retire even though he's 39.
Jesus. That is kind of crazy. I figured especially how old he is, I figured that this was probably going to be one of his last seasons in the NHL.
Hey, he's a tough Russian, so I could definitely see him playing for maybe 2 more years.
I could see it.
Just not for Pittsburgh.
You think he doesn't end his career in Pittsburgh?
They don't want him. They said it, I believe it was before the new regime came in, they were already trying to trade Evgeny Malkin. And he was like, I don't know why they want to get rid of me. Like, I've been in Pittsburgh my whole life, won 3 cups for them, but they just want to toss me aside.
That is interesting. I didn't think that would be the case in Pittsburgh, but that's a little bit of a shock. I didn't think that was going to be the case.
All well, right. When you have John Henry as the owner.
Fair, I guess. What do you think of the 2 wild card teams for the East currently? I know you said something about Boston being a little bit of a surprise. Do you think they take over that 3rd spot from Buffalo, or do you think the Sabres kind of continue on with their hot streak and kind of create a little bit more of a gap between them and Boston?
I mean, I'm liking Buffalo so far. I really don't want to say they don't make the playoffs. Like, they have solid goaltending. Like, Alex Lyon's been a pretty good addition for them as like a backup goalie. I just think Boston's just riding that hot hand very well. And they're also 8-2 in their last 10 and won 2 straight. So I think Boston might jump over Buffalo, and Buffalo, I think, will take the 2nd wild card spot, and I think Florida might not make it.
Yeah, because they're currently right now they're 5 points outside of a playoff spot. But I mean, you also have Philadelphia Toronto and Washington literally at the same points as them, and you have New Jersey, Columbus, and Ottawa probably within 4 or 5 points of Florida. So I mean, that's still something that, I mean, it's kind of made a little bit of a gap, but not as much as what it was whenever the last time we had a show last week. But I mean, the way standings are, you get a loss against some of these other teams right now, and I mean, you can be taking drastic hits in the standings. So I mean, depending on how the rest of the schedule goes for Florida or the rest of these teams, if you're a wild card team or not, it could drastically change your position within the standings.
Yeah, and you've been saying it for like a year that the East is just so tight. It's like you always have to be on your toes. And I never really realized it until like you kept putting it in my head. I'm like, you know what? It actually is really tight in the East. Like,
yeah, I mean, you have right now the bottom slot, which is the Rangers, they're sitting at 48 points. They're 9 points away from Florida, and they're on the outside looking in. And then, I mean, you're at 62 points, 63 points in wild card positions. I mean, it could be said the same for, I feel like, Boston or the Canadians, that if they go on a little bit of a skid, they could easily find themselves outside of the playoffs as well, I feel like.
Yeah, exactly. And I hope when Kirby Dach comes back off injury that hopefully they'll give them like that boost that they need, because they did make it to the playoffs last year, and the fact that they upgraded their roster, like even from off season to even in the middle of the season, like I really hope that they stay in that wild card spot.
I was just kind of looking at the last 10 for some of these teams. Do you think Columbus could make a push? Because I mean, they're 6-4-1 in their last, or yeah, 6-4 and wait, whoa, hold up, 6-4-0. Sorry, I was like, where am I getting 6-4-1 from for the last 10? But do you feel like they could be a potential team that could make a push to get into one of those wild card spots before the end of the season? I know we're at 52, 53 games, somewhere between there for a lot of these teams. Do you think they have a chance at getting back into one of those spots before the end of the season?
I mean, Rick Boas has them playing like decent defense, so it could happen. It's just, I think with their goaltending problems, like Elvis has been a little but their backup, which is, I guess, becoming the starter now, has been pretty well. I do think, though, because of where they are in the East, I think they might trade a guy like Boone Jenner.
Yeah, I've been seeing him a lot on a lot of rumor mill lists as well, that they could be trying to move Boone Jenner as well.
And it kind of sucks because, like, he's been a really good, like, Columbus Blue Jacket. So it's just like, I mean, I know he's having a down year this year, but like, if you look at what he's been besides being hurt last year, like, he's a pretty solid scorer and like pretty much the heart of the Columbus Blue Jackets. So it would be sad for him to go, but I think just because of where they at, like, Mason Marchment isn't going to be your hero, even though he had a hat trick the other night. So I would just kind of strip it a little bit and just see what you can get, because Rick Boas isn't going to be here next year. So it's just like, whoever the new coach is, it's like they have some good core pieces, but they're just iffy on defense.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anything else you wanted to cover in the East before we move over to the West?
Yeah, I'll say it. I'll say it again. The Maple Leafs should trade Austin Matthews. William Nylander's hurt. You're not going to go that far in the playoffs if you make it. So just trade your best player, get like the biggest haul we've ever seen. And also Linus Ullmark, just saw that he just came back off his personal leave, but he is a backup tonight. So
yep. And apparently since he's been back, and will be from the whole thing that happened in Vegas or whatever it was, that he that there was like a whole big thing from what happened with him, like with players' wives or whatever the hell it was. I saw something that he has been not really liking life, I guess, in Vegas, or no,
Ottawa.
Ottawa. Yeah, Ottawa. That's what it was. I don't know why I had thought it was Vegas, but not really been enjoying life as much in Ottawa since all that kind of happened.
Well, hopefully being on the ice will help him out a little bit. But I can understand too with the mental health aspect.
Yep. But any surprises of any of the teams outside of the playoffs this year, aside from Florida currently?
I would say Washington just because of what we saw last year, and I'm using that with a grain of salt just because I feel like that team played better just because they wanted to be there to see Ovechkin break the goal scoring record. So I feel like they played a little bit harder. They still have really good pieces. So I'm not saying they're a bad team. Like Connor McMichael's really good. Like Ryan Leonard is going to be a good prospect slash player in the league.
Kid, the sour guy. Oh, fudge! What was his name?
Oh, you talking about Sourdiff?
Yeah,
yeah.
He's been doing a hell of a lot recently for that team.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's been lighting it up pretty well. I think the last 3 games, he has like 2 goals and I think 3 assists.
Yeah,
but
something
I could be wrong on that one, but I think it's pretty close. But yeah, I mean, once the Olympics are over, Tom Wilson will just kind of come back down to earth because he was just proven to be on the Olympic team and he's been dominating.
I feel like I could see that. But
and also too, just real quick, love that New Jersey's falling because they love trashing the Rangers and they haven't done anything recently either. So just want to put that out there.
Fair enough. All right. Moving on from the East, going to be kind of going into the Western standings. We have Colorado at top of the Central at 79 points, Minnesota Wild at 68 points, Dallas Stars at 67 points. In the Pacific, we have Vegas at 62 points, Edmonton at 60 points, Anaheim at 57 points. What were, I guess, surprises, not really surprises with the West and everything that they're got kind of going on currently?
I mean, I kind of like Minnesota at the 2 spot just because Quinn Hughes has said that this is one of the best teams he's played on. Plus, Matt Boldy came off the IR. It's going to make him even more dangerous on that first line.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So I love that for Minnesota. And like we already talked about earlier with Dallas, like they would need an Evander Kane type, so that might help them, even though they're third in the Central. Yep. And then kind of surprised, but not really. So we'll see what happens with Keifer Sherwood. But like Anaheim's in the 3rd spot because they were actually kind of sliding like hardcore. So they're still like clinging on to the Pacific, and San Jose is literally 2 points away from chopping at their heels for in the Pacific for the 3rd spot. Mm-hmm. I kind of love it.
Yeah. Well, Anaheim did too. They're 6-4 in their last 10, but they've also gone on they're on a 6-game winning streak currently. So
of course they are.
So that could be a potential reason why they're in that 3rd spot compared to being in a wild card position or outside of the playoff picture. So.
Yeah. Dang. I just don't like it because of all those former Rangers that are on there.
Oh, yeah. You got, what is it?
Strome, Kreider, Trouba, and that should be it, but just those guys were in deep playoff runs for us, and obviously Chris Kreider's a Ranger for life.
For sure. And then I guess the biggest surprise for me, I guess there's not really much of a surprise. Anaheim is kind of a little bit of surprise just from the last few seasons of them always being outside of the playoff picture, and seeing them now in a 3rd slot, I would say is probably a little bit of a surprise for me. but also, I mean, Minnesota, I felt like their time was kind of coming a little bit. I mean, the last couple of seasons they've been in wild card positions, and they've had a lot of growing talent on their team. So, kind of seeing them in that second spot kind of doesn't really surprise me. I felt like they were going to be kind of on track to do better this year than what they have in previous seasons. Uh, but I mean, seeing this wild card race for the West, I mean, like you said, with Anaheim, they're 57 points. They're 2 points ahead of San Jose for that third spot in the Pacific for the locked up spots. And then Sharks are at 55 points. Utah's at 58 points. And I mean, even them, Utah, I would almost say it doesn't really have a chance to making it into the top three. I mean, Dallas and them, they're 9 points ahead of them in standings. And then Utah, I think they've been doing really well. They are 8-1-1, and they have a 5-game winning streak going on currently. So for me, Utah has been playing very well, and I mean, just seeing that, and then just seeing the distance between them and Dallas in the Central is crazy.
Yeah, and what's also crazy too is that Nashville's playing like really well. I thought Steven Stamkos was playing well just to get traded, but then when I heard from Beerly Hockey, shout out Beerly Hockey, they were talking about his contract situation. I was like, okay, like nobody's really gonna want $8 million for Steven Stamkos. So maybe he was just like, you know what, we're playing well. We're 52 points, way better than last year. We can essentially make the wild card 2 spot. So maybe he just was like, you know what, like F it, like I'm just gonna go ball out and we'll see what happens with the rest of the team. Because like I think Mason Marchment was is hurt right now, but not Mason Marchment, Jonathan Marchessault, I'm sorry. And I think with him being hurt and just the way that everyone's been playing now, I think they just improved a lot. Even though they are 5-5 their last 10, they're just playing really good hockey. So I wouldn't be surprised if they take the wild card 2 spot.
And one thing that's surprising with me is that they're playing as good as they are, and they still have a negative 26 goal differential.
That's insane. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, they have a negative 26 goal differential currently, which is crazy. I mean, like you said, they're 5-5 in their last 10, and they're 3 slots pretty much away from a wild card position, and they're 3 points away from it. I mean, that's to me, that's crazy.
And everyone put him in the cellar for this year again, just because of how last year was. But like, are you okay with St. Louis being worse than Winnipeg, even though we thought Winnipeg was going to be worse? Like, is Jim Montgomery still safe, or it's just he's trying to find his guys?
I would almost say that Montgomery is in a safe position. I mean, we've been in the position where in the last, 3 or 4 years, we've been through 3 or 4 different coaches. And just to get to the point where you find an elite caliber coach, you sign him to a contract for 5 years. To me, I feel like you've done enough kind of scrambling around with the coaches. And Doug Armstrong has said that, you know what, we found our guy. We're going to keep him as our coach. And we're starting to see that it's not so much the coach, but it's a lot more the players. And that's why Armstrong has pretty much said multiple times that there's not really any untouchables in this lineup. I mean, hell, you're seeing rumors about Robert Thomas potentially getting traded. The only way that they would get traded, they would trade Robert Thomas, though, is if it's a decent size haul. That's like the only way that they would potentially even think of selling Robert Thomas.
Yeah.
But I mean, just in that one post that I sent you guys, I think it was last week or something, I think there was 2 or 3 Blues on that list. I think it was Falk, Falk, Kairu, or Buchnevich and Jordan Bennington all on that list of players for that are potential like rumor mill trade offer players for that team.
Jeez.
So it's like there's not really a safe player on that team aside from I think some of the rookies that have been really showing themselves, like Stenberg, Dvorsky, Snuggerud, all those guys. They've been and Hofer have all been really proving their worth. I feel like over the last several games to the point to where I feel like if something does happen with St. Louis, it's not going to be any of those young guys that get traded away.
Oh yeah, no, like Jimmy Snuggerud is going to be great for you guys. Like people were talking about before he even came up to the Blues last year, like how great of a prospect that St. Louis nailed. So,
yep. But I mean, even in these no playoff picture teams, just to see us in that seventh spot for at the bottom, it is a little disheartening a little bit. I figured we would be a lot higher than this. I mean, seeing Chicago, Nashville, even Calgary and Winnipeg above us in the standings. And granted, it's not that much. I mean, Nashville is 3 points outside of a wild card position, but we are, 5 points behind them. So, I mean, that's a few games that the Blues could go on a tear and then they'd be right back in the picture of things. Yeah. So, I mean, it's the dramatic separation is it's there at the top, but it's not so much there at the bottom until you get to the Canucks, who's only got 39 points.
Yeah, I'm not putting you guys in that territory. Like they're just trading off everybody. So
pretty much. But I mean, this is kind of like that position that we were just talking about in the East. Like if you got a team that can put together a good amount of wins, like we just were talking about with Anaheim, that strung together 6 wins in a row to get them into that third wild card or that third playoff position for the Pacific. I mean, that's something that if all of a sudden the Blues do start doing decent, they could find themselves above Nashville or Seattle or even LA potentially. But that's if they can get their heads out of their butts and actually start playing hockey like they're supposed to.
Yeah, I agree.
I guess there any kind of surprises, I guess, for you, or not so much surprises for you for the non-playoff teams in the on the east or west side of things?
The only thing is I like what Chicago's doing. Like they have 50 points, but I expect them to just kind of slide pretty soon. So it's been a fun ride, but you're not going to the playoffs this year. I just love that Nashville is climbing up in the rankings. Seattle, I wish they were playing a little bit better, but I feel like they're gonna falter, and it might come between Nashville and LA for the final wild card 2.
All right, yeah, it'll be a little bit of a surprise. I feel like San Jose is gonna be, with the trade that they've made, I feel like they're gonna be a lock, and I feel like Utah has been playing pretty decent. But I mean, yeah, at any point, I feel like any of these wildcard positions, especially in the West, could be changing. And if Chicago keeps playing decent, what has Seattle been doing? No, they're 3-5-2. They haven't really been showing much. I mean, the only ones that have been really showing up is Nashville 5-5. I mean, other than that, you got a bunch of 3-5-2s, 4-2-4s, and then you got the 2 wild card position teams that are either 8-1-1 or 6-4-0. So I mean, there's not a whole lot of teams that are below like those top 3 for each side that have been really doing absolutely fantastic. So it's just more or less more ground to stand on, I feel like, for Utah and San Jose to continue to keep doing better, to just lock up those 2 positions that much more.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of going off from that, since we're kind of in the playoff talk, and kind of where standings are at, let's kind of dive into these draft picks or the draft prospects, I guess you could say, for this upcoming draft class for 2026. So in this draft class, we've talked about it briefly in other shows, or it might have been just in chats that we've been kind of discussing this, but there's only been maybe one. There's not a whole lot of really high end talent in this class, and with it being kind of getting close to like that middle point of the season, right before the winter break of like the Olympics, there's new kind of leaderboard switch with those top guys in the prospect pool for this draft class, and that which we saw that Ivar Stenberg and Gavin McKenna are kind of been going back and forth with that one position for the first overall pick. I guess with how things are shaping up for Vancouver, St. Louis, Calgary, Winnipeg, and New York, with those guys being in those bottom 5 slots, how do you think that, I guess, these draft picks would kind of anchor out? Because I know we kind of briefly touched on it beforehand, and you said something about, I think it was like a Chase Reed or Verhemoff that could potentially be going to St. Louis, or with them being more defenseman style players. But do you think that with St. Louis being in that second position, depending on if that's how it gets layered out in the lottery, that it's going to be Vancouver and St. Louis at 1 and 2, do you think they could flip flop between Gavin McKenna and Ivar Stenberg, or do you think that's pretty much how it's going to go between Gavin probably going to Vancouver, Ivar going to St. Louis, and then kind of filtering down from there?
Well, at first I thought it was going to be Ivan Stenberg because, again, like, now I've said it on like this show, other shows, like NHL draft, like prospects picks are like useless because you can assume this person's really great and you draft them. You're like, yeah, it's like high draft picks. We've seen it before with other teams in recent drafts, and then they just plummet like hardcore. But with this draft, I think whoever's 1 and 2. So if you're saying Vancouver, St. Louis, you cannot go wrong because it's really the Gavin McKenna show and the Ivan Stenberg show. So let's say Vancouver is like, you know what, let's go Stenberg. Like, you know, he did really well in the juniors. He's a fast skater. He's really good up on the boards as well. And I actually didn't really know about him until about like maybe like 2 weeks ago. And then I was like, oh, wow, like his stats were pretty good. And I only watched like 2 Swedish games in the under 18 or under 20 juniors. So you can't go wrong with either those two. And like Gavin McKenna, which I really didn't think it was going to happen because he said, wait till we go to the World Juniors and I'll just reset. Yeah, he definitely reset. He's in the last 5 games, he has 5 goals and 9 assists. So he's beating up like hardcore right now to be the number 1 pick. So I think for me, because from an outsider, if you have the number 2 pick, I would go Chase Reed for defense. He's a good right-hand defenseman, and he's actually played pretty well too in the World Juniors, so you can't go wrong with that. But if you don't want that, if you pick Stenberg or McKenna, you're not going to go wrong, especially McKenna because everybody wants him.
Yeah, and I was hearing a lot of talks too about this. I don't think St. Louis would go for another center just between their center depth that they currently have, but that Tynan Lawrence, I felt like he has been getting a lot of talk too, that he's been doing pretty decently. I don't think St. Louis would really be a team that would potentially go after him, but I've been hearing pretty good things about him as well, that he could be in that. I know he's not listed here in our top 5, but different lists that I've seen him, he's been in the top 3, top 4 for mock drafts. So that was something that I thought was kind of interesting as well.
Yeah, he's been pretty good when he was in the USHL. I think he had like 25 goals if I read that right. But yeah, he's not a bad center either. But yeah, I wouldn't if I'm St. Louis, I wouldn't go after him just because of how much center depth that you guys have. It would just kind of be a waste unless you're going to trade him to get more picks or a player for it. So that would make sense.
Yeah.
But Keaton Verhoff too, like I
Yeah.
don't think he's better than Chase Reed, but he will be picked in the top 5. Like he's a very
Oh
good
yeah.
defenseman, and I believe he plays at North Dakota State right now.
Yep. He's at North
And
Dakota.
yeah, he's been pretty good with his plus minus on the ice. So yeah, this top 5 I think might actually happen. But I think with Rubric, I think Tynan Lawrence will probably go ahead of him just slightly.
Whenever we kind of had this set up, I saw Rubric was in our top 5. I felt like Tynan Lawrence was probably a better slot to put into that position. But I'm all the rest of these guys like Verhoff, Stenberg, Reed, McKenna. I felt like all those guys pretty much fit in the positions that they are more or less in. I could see Ivan or Ivar. I don't know how they pronounce it, but
It's Ivan.
okay. I could more or less probably seen him probably going before Keaton Verhoff, but and night and day. Just and only because I feel like if McKenna goes to uh, Vancouver and St. Louis has the option to take Stenberg, I feel like it's gonna probably be Stenberg only because he's a Swede, and you have our new GM taking over next year, who's also a Swede, and then you have Otto Stenberg, who's also playing for the Blues currently and has been playing very well, even though he hasn't gotten on the stat sheet all that much. He has still been playing pretty well, and I feel like with all those factors, I feel like if St. Louis gets put in that second slot, I could probably see them potentially going after Stenberg.
Yeah, I would just be careful with just like I'm not saying he is, but I have drafted. Well, not I have. The Rangers have drafted a Swedish player in the top 10, and that was Elias Anderson,
Mm-hmm.
and he was pretty nasty, and he did not pan out at all. He was terrible.
Hopefully, that's not going to be the case for this guy. But
Stenberg stat wise, like this year, is better than what Elias Anderson was in his final year before he went to the NHL. So he should be okay. But I'm just saying, just cautious.
yeah, do you think granted, standings can kind of change between now and the end of the season in April. But do you think this is how kind of things are going to shape out for the bottom 5, or do you think they get kind of switched up between now and April or May?
I think it probably stays the same. I think maybe the Rangers move up one spot just because of the way they've been playing and they just can't win games. But other than that, no, I think everything's probably going to stay the same.
Okay. Yeah, I could potentially kind of seeing it kind of staying somewhat the same as well. It kind of hurts to say as being a St. Louis fan and saying that, oh yeah, we're going to be stuck at 31st in the league. Kind of hurts a little bit to say, but that would suck. But I mean, at the same time too, we would get a potential higher percentage chance at getting a either first or second or third round draft pick and getting one of those more top tier draft choices.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of moving on from that, which I know we kind of differed from this list last week whenever we kind of touched on it a little bit, but we kind of were more at same thinking this week with that we're the top 5 for at least for the 5 hole, but we were looking at Tampa being at the top, Colorado kind of sliding from first to second. Detroit being in there at the third. Fourth was Carolina. Fifth was Minnesota. Do you kind of still feel the same way with this list, or do you think there's a team on the outside that should probably be in that list?
No, I think I actually was surprised that we agreed on this. Like when I saw your list, I pretty much was going to say the same thing. Like I think the only team that may be creeping, and it just kind of depends on what they do, is Vegas. But other than that, like everyone on this list has been playing really well. Like I can't believe Tampa is back to being a wagon.
Right.
Like the way
whenever I saw their stats over the last 10 and them being 8-1-1 today, I was like, oh my geez, this is a team like earlier on in the season wasn't even remotely in the playoff picture situation, and now all of a sudden they're right there in the gist of things.
Exactly.
It's nuts to me.
and people people were saying that John Cooper should just stop coaching and just move up to like a GM position or somewhere in the Tampa office.
Really?
Yeah. They were saying that like when they were on that little skid, they were like the bottom of the Atlantic. They were like, yeah, I think John Cooper's done. I think his message is not being clear for the Lightning. And then they just went off on like a 12-game winning streak.
Yeah, and it's going to be crazy. I feel like they're going to be right there in the gist of things. I mean, we've seen Kucherov being his nasty self again all of a sudden on the ice and getting goals left and right again. I mean, it's been just crazy seeing how this team is just all of a sudden cooperating again with everything that they have going on, and seeing them in the second position for the Atlantic is mind-blowing to me. But you know what? Hey, good on them for getting to be in the position that they are, and I hope that they can keep going with it, because it's nice to see them in the playoffs rather than a team like Florida, who is outside of the playoffs currently.
Maybe for you, I hate seeing Tampa in the playoffs. Unless they play Florida, then they lose to them. I hate Tampa.
Fair enough. My level of hate for them isn't as high as yours, I guess.
No, I have 2015 and 2022 for Tampa. And that was to each go to the finals. So, yeah, no, I don't like them at all.
But other than that, I mean, the order for the rest of these 5 teams, it was kind of similar to what we had last week. I mean, Colorado, Detroit, Carolina, and Minnesota. I mean, all these other 4 teams have been playing pretty well for themselves. I mean, Colorado and Minnesota are in top of the Central. You have Carolina top of the Metro, and then Detroit's at the top of the Atlantic. So, I mean, I feel like the rest of these 4 teams have been doing pretty well for themselves. I would only say that the way they're ordered is because of how like they've been doing over the last 10 or so games.
Agreed. And I think depending on what Yzerman does or doesn't do for Detroit, he could slip out of our top 5.
See, what has their trajectory? I mean, they're still 8-1-1. I mean, if they keep going like they are, and I think if they're able to acquire somebody that could potentially fit better with this team than what they currently are playing as, I feel like they could stay in the top 5.
Interesting. Yeah, I just want to see if they get another defenseman and possibly like another center just to help out their playoff push. Because
send them fall.
Yeah, right. There you go. Boom. I heard he was getting linked to Vegas a lot before the Rasmus Anderson trade. So
same. But I mean, after Rasmus Anderson got picked up, it'll be interesting to see who goes where. So
I can't wait.
Yep. Any kind of final closing things before we end up for the day?
Yeah, pretty much. Any Ranger fans that listen to this, there's nothing more to say. It's a dead season. I like the enthusiasm from some Ranger fans accounts on Twitter, but it's just not looking good. Cole Caulfield and Jason Robertson are proving that they should be on Team USA's roster. Like JT Miller and Vincent Trocheck are shells themselves right now in this current stretch. Like Cole Caulfield had a hat trick last night, and he's not on the Olympic roster. And Jason Robertson's just sniping. I don't know if you saw that snipe he had. I think it was like 2 days ago. My Lord. But, he's not good enough for the Team USA roster.
Yeah, and for them to go and pick Lakambe over
Jackson Lacombe. Yeah.
I saw that and I'm going,
yeah.
Fuck is this?
It's just because he's taller, I guess. That was their trajectory thing. Like, he's a tall guy. I'm like, oh, okay. But, other than that, just make sure you guys like, subscribe, hit the little bell button for Variety Sports. It goes ding. And hopefully we're giving you guys pretty good 5-hole content.
For sure. And also, too, if you guys want to leave us any comments about different topics and whatnot that you want us to cover and upcoming shows, be sure to leave a comment in the down below as well. So other than that, I thought we had a pretty decent show for tonight. Thank you, Aaron, for coming back on with me, and thank you all you guys who have tuned into this point for joining us this evening. Be sure to tune in next Sunday for another episode of the 5-Hole with the Variety Sports Network, and we will see you guys again next time. Peace.